What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here at GSD Studios. First off, thank you so much for checking out today's content. I'll make this extremely fast, but I need to plug our sponsors that make this show possible. Our first sponsor is PerfectStormNow.com, by far the most effective and affordable real estate agent website and database platform in the industry. It is the system I use to sell 50 plus homes every single month. Check it out at www.perfectstormnow.com. Our second sponsor is my personal real estate agent mentorship program, www.90daymastery.com. Get the entire program for only $997 with promo code LIVEMASTERY. All caps, all one word, all together. Learn more at www.90daymastery.com. See what the program's all about. See live testimonials, how real estate agents have changed their life. All right, you guys, let's dive on into today's content. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD mode interview. Every single week, we interview top entrepreneurs and straight up top badasses that are out there dominant in their space. These are people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create amazing, epic, big lives for themselves, their families, as well as have a big impact on others. So today, you guys, we got a special guest on the show, actually a repeat guest, a really good friend of mine. I would say in the residential real estate space, probably one of the most successful dudes that I know that are selling real estate. You know, we're in this game of so much smoke and mirrors, and you know, where people you know, aren't always transparent and honest about their numbers. You know, and our guest and I today, we're always masterminding. We're always you know, going back and forth and sharing a lot of strategies, sharing a lot of ideas. And this dude is just such an inspiration, such a good friend, and such an amazing badass. So you guys, I'm stoked and honored to have Jeff Cohn on the show. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, what's up, guys? Super pumped today. It's always fun talking with Josh. High energy. We've been told that we speak at 2.5x speed. So we're going to try to back that off. I always tease that the podcast companies need to give a slower option where you can like put 0.25x speed so you can keep up with some of these interviews. So we'll try to bring a lot of content. I'm going to also share a lot of websites with the audience today. So have something to write with or have your laptop up so you can throw those sites in. And hopefully we can bring you a lot of value today.
Cool, man. Well, I'll make sure that you and Troy get together when we get done, so we can we'll just get all those copies and then have them in the show notes below.
Perfect.
So whether you guys are listening on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, whatever, those will all be below. So, you know, so I mean, it's been over a year since we had you on the podcast, and I know your business is, you know, as always. I mean, you went from, you know, like everybody, you know, right? You start out at the bottom, right? You start out fresh, and you know, next thing you know, you're doing 100 deals and 300 deals and 500 deals. I think last year you did 600 deals. I know this year you're on track to do substantially more. Give us an idea of what, just give us kind of an update between our last podcast and
for sure
now. I mean,
you know,
structure is production.
For sure. The biggest thing that I've seen, Josh, and you know, Josh and I off air have talked a lot on this. The main three pillars of any successful real estate business, number one is going to be recruiting. Number two is going to be retraining, and number three is going to be retention. And if you can recruit, retain, and train, you're going to be successful. And then, of course, there's all these other value pieces that you focus on. So what I did is, as an individual agent, I was always successful. My first year, I did 50 deals in Omaha, which netted me about 96 grand. And I was 24 years old with a kid. I lived in an apartment. We were 50 grand in debt. And, you know, over the course of a couple of years, I got to the point where I was doing about 60 to 70 deals, and I started seeing all these teams kind of start popping up. It was back in 2010, 2011. And I thought, wow, that'd be pretty awesome if I had a team. Maybe I wouldn't have to work so hard with buyers and I'd just focus on listings. So 2011, I launched a team. That year I had done 80 deals the year I launched my team. And within 12 months, I did 240 sites. And all that growth came from recruiting, training, and retention. And I recognized that I had tapped into a wheel that could continue to grow as long as I continue to grow as a person. And I steal Jim Rohn's quote that your level of success will never exceed your level of personal development. So the person that you become is based on what you choose to learn. And obviously with your audience plugging into GSD mode, there's so much content here for everyone. But it's not just about content. It's also about application and being willing to take that risk. So I failed forward for 5 straight years. I went from 240 to somewhere in the 300s, 400s, 500s. Last year we were in the 600s. And as I visited other teams across the country to gain information and experience, I learned that a lot of people stop focusing on the recruiting or the training or the retention, and they get stuck in the triple digits. So they'll be stuck in the 500s for 7 years, or in the 50s for 10 years, or they'll never even get out of it because they don't change something in their business. This year, we've already done 350 sides. And as of this recording, we're in mid-May. We expect in the year about 750 units, 800 units, somewhere in there. Our goal is to be the #1 team in the country in unit sales by 2020. And we will accomplish that through constant recruiting, retention, and training. So having a lot of fun, have a great group of people. I obviously could have never done this all on my own. I have a full-time operations manager that runs our admin team. We have 4 admin, a listing coordinator, buyer's coordinator, success manager that holds the agents accountable. And we generate a lot of leads, internet leads. We spend about $8,000 a month on paid ads through Facebook, Google AdWords. We also spend money on Craigslist and Zillow. We do a lot with Facebook, both free ads and boosted ads. And we have outbound callers through 1,000 calls a day, another company that I own that make outbound prospecting calls and data scrubbing calls. And we just kind of created this huge machine, but it all started with just me as an individual agent, and then always every day working to do a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I love it, dude. So one of the things that I love about you and I respect so much, there's a lot of agents that do a lot of volume, right? But there's not a lot of agents that net a lot of money, right? So and you, dude, I mean, when you look at the per volume that you do and the amount of commissions that you do, I don't know anybody, and I interview a lot of agents and I know a lot of agents in the space, but I don't know anybody that nets as much as you do. So yeah, the recruiting, the retention, training, all of that is brilliant. And I agree with all those points. But businesses exist to make a profit, right? So those things help you continue with that profit. But also, I think a lot of team leaders jack up on the split structures, right? So they get to the point where they're just trading even. I mean, most team leaders, they get to the point where their agents cover the overhead. So anything that they sell is pure profit. But that's kind of stop, right? So kind of talk to us or share with our audience some of the things that you are doing to be so damn profitable. Because just for you guys that are listening, last year, Jeff and I both did, I don't know your exact numbers, but you closed a few more, some more units than I did, but we did 103 million in gross sales volume, 2.6 million in commissions. But from private conversations, you netted double what I netted. Right? And it's because you've just come up with some brilliant ideas.
So let me unpack some of that. And Josh is dead on. So you have all these teams doing all these units and all this volume, and I call it brag numbers. But I say big hat, no cattle, which is a Midwest quote. We don't use it here. I don't have cattle in my backyard, but big hat, no cattle is the person that walks around like they're just slaying. But when you look at their bank account, it's not slaying. There's just zeros, no ones in front of them. And so you see that people grow because of ego, and they don't know the business that they're running, and they think that they need to be servicing leads. And most of these businesses, if the agent's personal sales were taken out of the profit and loss statement, the company would be upside down. And so for me, I knew I didn't want to scale. I didn't want Omaha's Elite to grow unless I wasn't necessary. So my focus in the beginning was to earn enough money off of the agent's net profit that they were generating to the business that would allow me to quit selling altogether. And that's really challenging. I was earning about $350,000 a year as a Rainmaker agent. And so when I started growing my team, my number was 200 grand. So once my team was making me 200, I was going to quit selling altogether. So I stopped working with buyers, just focused on listings. And then once the team was generating 200 grand, I quit selling. I took a $350,000 pay cut because I was making I could have made 525 grand had I chosen to take the 200, adding on the money I was making. And most people won't walk away from that. But I had that belief that if I took the step backwards and focused all of my, doubled down on recruiting and retention and training, that the next year I could make double of what I had made previously at the 500 mark. And that's exactly what happened. So I took the step back, quit selling, focused on everything else, made 475 grand the year I did that. because my team doubled in size, doubled in sales. So the 200 went to 4 something. And then the very next year I netted over $1 million. And that was 2 years ago. And then last year I did $1 million again. So to break down the numbers, so our splits are pretty simple. Any new agent that joins our team, it's a 60-40 split. You can cap at 80-20. Every $1 million you do in production, your split goes up 5%. So if at the end of the year you do 2 million, you'd be at a 70-30. If at the end of the year you did 4 million or more, you'd be at an 80-20. If I generate the lead, our company, it's a 50-50 split no matter what their split is. So 50-50 if I generate the lead, 60-40 up to 80-20 if they generate the lead. Last year, we did about $3 million in gross commission income. Out of that $3 million, about 60% went to agent commission and 40% was kept by the company. 10% of our gross commission income was overhead expenses. So 70% of that 3 million went out the door to agent commission and overhead, and I netted the 30%. 30% of 3 million is $900,000. And the way I'm able to keep that 30%, and the reason our overhead is only 10%, is one of two things. Number one is we don't spend money on marketing. We created marketing service agreements with a lot of different lending and vending partners. I've also started some parallel businesses in title and in insurance. So I'm able to generate additional revenues from those areas, and those help me cover all of my expenses from a marketing standpoint, over $120,000 a year. And the next best thing was broker commissions. And you could argue it's better than even the marketing service agreements. So our broker that we work with at Berkshire Hathaway gets $225 a transaction, up to 400 transactions. We actually charge $599 on every buy side and $999 on every sell side. So I was able to generate an additional $350,000 in revenue from the broker commission that I then turn around and zero-based my admin costs. So when we add admin, it's not based on how many transactions we're doing. It's based on how much money we have left over at the end of the year from the broker commission. So I know that gets kind of confusing, but to unpack it, our overhead should be about 25%. And most businesses' overhead is going to be at least 25%, but ours is only 10. So I get to actually make my profit off of the commission, which is how brokerages used to make profit back in the 70s. Today, most brokerages break even on commission. Commission's a loss leader, and they make their money on ancillary services like title, escrow, insurance, mortgage, and things like that.
Yeah, love it, dude, love it. So the questions arise on those two things is, okay, so if an agent's hearing this, right, how do they go out there and get with their vendors to get them to agree to that? And the second question then is on the transaction fees to your buyers and sellers. How do you sell that to them?
Sure.
Like, here's the commission. Here's this additional fee.
Yeah.
Because I know that you get like very little to no pushback from it. So how are you?
Yeah, it's been really, really good. So let's go backwards. So the other question is splits. Some places teams are offering 100% splits and just charging fees. And all three of those questions, how you create marketing service agreements, how you create broker fees, and how you get your splits is all based on value. So the conversation always needs to be focused on the net of the relationship. So when a client says, oh, I don't want to pay 6%, Joshy, I'd rather pay 4%. The guy next door is only charging 4%. The rebuttal is always, the conversation shouldn't be about the commission I charge you. The conversation should be about how much money you're going to net by working with my company. And so it's the same thing when you talk about splits with agents, and it's the same thing when you talk about marketing service agreements with lenders and vendors. If the relationship with any of those entities are going to net said entity more money by working with you and contributing something than by not working with you, people will stay with you. The problem is agents don't have relationships with other agents, with lenders and vendors, or with their own team members. And so it starts to become a challenge to create those value conversations. So how I started that off 5 years ago, I'm an individual agent. I'm sending about 50 deals a year to my lender. And at the time, my lender would kick me maybe one referral a month. Well, one referral a month didn't seem fair to me because I knew how much my lender was making off the 50 leads I sent and how much I was making off the one lead a month. And so I thought, you know what, my lender's already spending money on marketing. Why wouldn't my lender give me the money, and not directly to me, but through like a company like Boomtown or Conversion or Commissions Inc. or Zillow? Why would they not generate leads to me? I'll scrub the leads, and then of course I'll refer my buyer a few different lenders to work with, and hopefully the lender that paid for that lead will end up snagging that lead as an opportunity. So instantly from the beginning of my career, I went into relationships like that, and over the last 5, I've just continued to foster those lender-vendor relationships. But the value is the net that they earn off your team. And most of these entities won't track their numbers. And so we're constantly tracking. So last year, I gave both of my lenders about 30 leads, so a total of 60 leads. and they're earning an average of 2% on that transaction. So I figured up exactly what their net would be based on the leads we send. And then, my hope is if they're paying for leads, they should be paying for the leads based on my overall cost for lead acquisition. But a lot of times I just look at what it would cost a normal company to run a marketing campaign to generate as much business as I gave to them. And that's typically going to be the fee that I would charge back to my lender.
Now, you're not saying leads that you gave to them, you're saying actual clients.
Yeah. So they're generating the leads. They come into our CRM. We're scrubbing those leads for them. We're kicking them client opportunities. It's then their responsibility, though, to convert those opportunities. So we track how many opportunities we give them every month. And then out of those opportunities, how many they actually convert. Because it's not my responsibility to convert the lead for them. They have to earn that business on their own.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what would you recommend? So maybe there's an individual agent here that's listening to this, that's doing 50 deals a year. And they're like, dude, I'm directing, I don't know, 20 deals, buyer having 20 deals to their lender a year. Like,
yep.
What is that percentage? Like, how much do you go in expecting or asking for?
Yeah, this is a great question. So RESPA is going to have guidelines around marketing service agreements. They don't want there to be an agreement where if I give you one lead, you have to give me $500. That's illegal. That's against RESPA. What they will be okay with is if you determine that you're spending $1,000 a month in marketing and you'd like your lender to offset that cost and cover half of it, they're okay with it. But the number, I look at it from a business standpoint, a strong business is going to spend 15 to 20% in marketing. And so if I hand a lender a lead that earns the lender, call it $2,500, 20% of that's $500. That's how much I think they should put back into marketing. Well, I'm going to market for the lender much better than they're going to market for themselves. And so I'm going to ask the lender to contribute around $500 for every lead I send to them. Now you can't say that's not the agreement and that's not what's in writing. But typically, if you're wondering how much your lender should contribute, I would say it'd be a fifth of what they earn per deal from the leads that you send to them that they're able to convert. So for us in our marketplace, every one lead that converts per month, that's about $500 a month is what I would expect them for generating leads. Now, some people get all bent out of shape with MSAs. Erase MSAs altogether, just start a marketing company, and then you don't even need to worry about RESPA. Your lender will still need to adhere to the CFPB guidelines, but start your own LLC that's a marketing LLC, and you don't then have to adhere to any MSA guidelines because you're not going into your marketing company as a real estate agent. You're going into it as the owner of a marketing company that's working for lenders and different vendors in your marketplace, which is totally separate from your real estate relationship.
Yeah, love it, dude. Love it, man.
So broker fees that we charge our clients, you have to have value behind that. So our agents have to believe in the value of that fee, because if they don't get the client to pay for that fee, we require them to pay for it themselves. So they already know that our broker's charging $225 and that they have to get the difference. So on $599 and $999, take $225 off of that, and that's the difference they need to collect from the customer. We offer a lot of value. So we do pictures, video, staging. We have a moving truck. We have full-time admin, that 24-hour-a-day access. We have a beautiful office. We do all these extra things. So if our client says, well, why doesn't the commission cover all that stuff? Isn't that what you're already responsible for doing? And the agent says, no, the commission doesn't. The broker admin commission is what covers all these ancillary services that are going to help them through the process. The real estate commission that our agent gets paid is what helps pay the agent. That's what covers the agent's cost of time and resources that they're bringing to the table. But the company resources are part of that broker commission, and that's how they explain it.
Yeah, and I've after years of you preaching this to me, I finally decided to jump in recently, and like you talked about, dude, it's every objection is a lack of education, and if you just educate in the value of it, and I find buyers, dude, it's very simplistic. They're not paying a commission anyway, and a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, you're able to book it into the seller's closing costs.
Yep.
Sellers, when you do I'm still old school. I like to do a handwritten net sheet for them. But it's like, here's the commission, here's the, HOA transfer fees, here's all this, and we sell it as a broker transaction audit and 5-year storage fee, but Perfect. It just takes another fee, right? And
Yep. People get all bent out of shape. They're like, how do you sell it? How do you sell it? And I'll give you guys the exact dialogue. Hey, Josh, super pumped to write this offer. Hope you get the house. This first section, this is our offer price. This is how much the earnest deposit is. Oh, this section here talks about the broker commission. We charge a $599 broker commission on every deal. I just need you initial here, and sign here. Be sure to date it. All right, here's the next page. This section goes over. That's how you sell it. You talk any more than that, you've already gotten yourself into a problem. And you think about transaction fees, guys, we all pay them. You go to buy a car, they put $299 in bold. That's their transaction fee. And there's actually, I think they only can charge up to like 600. There's actually a law now for when you purchase cars, how much that transaction fee can be. No one's arguing, hey, can you waive it? I argue it because I know it's bull crap. I know it's a junk fee. So I argue, I'm not going to pay the transaction fee. I know what it is. But they have it in there because it's helping them offset all of their overhead expenses. And that's the same reason we have it in there. And I don't keep profit off of it. So my agents know Jeff's not driving home, driving to the bank with money because of that broker fee. It's there to provide more value to our agents and to the clients that they serve. And so it's a cultural belief around that broker fee. And obviously it helps to cover $350,000 of admin expenses every year. That's a pretty important part of our business right now.
Yeah. And then, if you break it down, if you're a team leader that's listening to this, because we've all been there. So this isn't a jab at individual agents. But I know for a fact, when I was an individual agent, my clients did not receive the level of service that my team can provide them today with separate listing coordinators, transaction coordinators, separate, inside sales agent, customer service departments, marketing departments.
Right.
Like my clients are getting superior service, and my sellers are getting way more money in their pocket. Like there's just no way you can replicate the same level of service. So anytime you're giving a higher level of service, you should be able to charge more money, right?
You would think, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And that's our argument. If you're a loan agent out there and you're like, oh, but I don't have a team, what am I going to say? You're always going to say, hey, there's these big teams and these big entities. With me, it's going to be personal service and I'm going to be available. But think about what you're saying. You're going to be available. You're going to be the person doing everything. And that's not scalable. That's not leverageable. And that's not going to provide you with the lifestyle that I think you'd probably be wanting. So,
yeah. And I think all agents can agree with this, whether you're an individual agent or a team leader, of how many agents that jump in this space that are just extremely unprofessional. They don't treat this as a career. And just remember that these guys or girls, they're typically getting paid the same amount of money that you are, right? Even though they're extremely unprofessional, they can't meet contract deadlines, whatever it may be. Don't be afraid to charge that fee, man. I love it, dude. So
another thing we do when we go on that list price, because we know there's going to be some pushback, we charge 7%. All of our contracts are 12-month agreements, and we do a $2,000 cancellation fee. So we tell everyone in all the verbiage that they can cancel anytime, they can cancel anytime. And then as we go through the paperwork on the 5th page, it shows the cancellation agreement, and then it shows that there's a cost for that. So we don't tell them you can cancel anytime, it's $2,000. You can cancel anytime, it's $2,000. We say you can cancel anytime, which is true and unique. No other agent in our marketplace says cancel the contract anytime. We let them out of it, but they're going to cover their overhead costs and the amount of time my agent spent with them if they do decide to cancel that agreement. But Josh is dead on all the value. It's a value conversation. So same thing with the real estate commission. Some people probably heard that and are like, how do they make money at an 80-20 split? I know there's teams at Keller Williams, especially where they're only letting the agent keep 40%. My challenge with that, I have a thing on my board here. It says leaders serve followers. And as a leader of a follower, I want to do for them what I would want a leader to do for me. And I always want to give every person within my organization the ability to be me, or do exactly what I've done in the sense of creating marketing service agreements, generating their own leads, building teams within my team. And so if I held an agent at a 60-40 split where they only kept 40, I would know that's not in their best interest. That certainly might appear on the front end that it's in my best interest. But over time, that agent's not going to be retainable. They're not going to stay with me. They certainly, in the beginning, will be trainable. But in time, when they see that their friends are making more money somewhere else, I don't think they're going to be trainable because they're not going to trust me anymore. And so my thought process was I want to pay them out the money they deserve. I feel like if you're doing $4 million or more, you get to keep 80%. I think you deserve it. You've earned it. And then I work to provide as much value as I can to help them build their teams within my team. Now, a third of our deals are coming from the internet leads we provide. So I'm still making a 50-50 split on a third of those 600 deals last year were 50-50 splits. But my lead agents are no longer wanting to take those leads because they know internet leads are really hard. We convert at 3%, but that's still only 1 out of every 33 leads. It's a lot of phone calls to find that white unicorn, if you will. And so now with agents within teams, we're placing those sub-agents under team leaders that provide them mentorship and training and accountability. And their sub-agents are the ones now wanting to work those internet leads to somewhat provide rocket fuel to the business that they're just getting into. Because what you're going to find if you're a team leader giving out leads to seasoned agents, in time, they're not going to want to work your leads. They're going to want to generate their own leads or just work their sphere.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I've had a couple dudes in this podcast that are, decent producers, team leaders, but have went into coaching and
Mhm.
and they'll bring up the whole split thing, and they're like, oh, well, you cannot be profitable. And, I mean, they're charging, they're only giving their listing agents, let's say 20%, whatever it may be. And then I'm like, okay, how many agents do you have? And they're like,
Right.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're going to run a very, very small model, yeah, you got to reverse the split model. But as you
Right.
scale, right, when it becomes a volume game, but like Jeff said, retention. I mean, when I had different split structures, it was where it wasn't in the agent's favor, it wasn't progressive. Dude, it was a revolving door, man. It was
Right.
just constant, which jacks up culture and
Oh yeah.
and you're living proof that all that those belief systems are wrong. So the last thing I want to hit on, because I really want to get into talking about flat rate with you, which is this, and also I don't think I've had you on since you started your new podcast. So I want to talk about your podcast. I want to talk about flat rate because those are pretty epic things that our listeners should be jumping into. But before that, I kind of just want to hit on internet lead generation a little bit, because there's still this belief system that internet lead generation, like top producers don't. It's, every top producer does geographical farming or radio or whatever. And I mean, you're killing at internet lead generation. So what do you, I know you talked about some of the mediums that you're doing. I would say the lead source, Google, pay-per-click, Facebook. I mean, I don't know if they're so relevant. It's more of what are you doing once you get that lead to have those successes.
Yeah, man.
But kind of disprove this myth that goes around in this industry that, you can't be successful on a big level with online lead generation.
Yeah, great. I love this question. So the three pillars of lead generation in order of best lead to worst lead is sphere of influence, outbound prospecting, and internet leads. And obviously all of us would prefer just working our sphere. The problem is you reach a point of diminishing returns with your sphere. And what I mean by that is anyone listening to this is just one person. And there's just so many hours. I think there's 127 awake hours if you sleep. I think it's 7 hours a day. So you're going to reach a point where you can't service any more business. And so at that point, you're going to need an additional funnel or additional pillar of leads because your sphere is going to want you. So my belief is that people should only focus on their sphere. If they're servicing listings, they should kick all their buyers to somebody else. And eventually they should remove themselves out of the business altogether. The second bucket is going to be outbound prospecting, which is open houses, tips group, masterminds, just listed, just sold, for sale by owner, expired calls. Anytime you're directly reaching out to anyone that's not an internet lead and it's not someone from your sphere. And I think it's the second most profitable way for an agent to spend their time. The third and lowest value, but that still gets results, is internet leads. That's Google ads, Facebook ads, Craigslist, Instagram. Anytime you post anything on any site out there, people are doing it on Snapchat now with our story. So you have lots of options there. We've tracked the rate of return, both from a return on investment standpoint and a ROT, which is return on time. Because if I know grandma refers me a deal and I can close it in 15 minutes versus a lead that comes off Facebook that takes me 50 hours, even if I had to spend 10 times as much money on grandma's lead, it'd be better because it takes hardly any time to convert it. So for the last 3 years, we've tracked every lead source. We know how much time each lead takes, how many showings we go with each lead source, from the buy side, the list side, the commission, the returns, got it all broken down. And internet leads definitely take the longest. They're the lowest return on investment. It's inexpensive to market to your sphere. It's inexpensive to do outbound prospecting, even when you hire a virtual assistant. But the internet leads are still necessary. A third of my business comes from internet leads. And where I find it most necessary is for when you want to leverage and grow your business, you need to have a lead source that's leverageable, that's systematic, that's residual and predictable, so that you can push a button literally and it will double your leads overnight. If you get an extra $1,000, you push a button, it doubles your leads. That's really challenging to do within a sphere because a sphere is so, limited to however many people are actually already in it. So with Google ads, as an example, I'll unpack Google ads. And like you pointed out, Josh, all internet leads are honestly created equal. They are online. They're on Facebook. They're on Google. They're on Twitter. They're on Zillow. They're looking at other things and decide to do a search or click on an ad. It's now an internet lead. And we've actually tracked over thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of leads, the relationship with every different lead source that's in the internet realm. And our average sales price is within like 4%. So like Craigslist is 4% lower than Google ads. So the price points are about the same. In our marketplace, it's just the average price point, which is $209,000. The amount of work that goes into each of them is very similar as well. Right now, the average internet lead's taking us about 7 showings. It's because it's a seller's market. Everyone's wanting to write right away. The average time on market for an internet lead is the same as every other house. It's about 8 days on market. So from a relationship standpoint of the lead, that's all equal. The hardest challenge with an internet lead is getting in touch with them. So we'll spend on Google ads and Facebook ads, we're spending about $1 every time someone clicks on an ad. And right now we need 10 clicks to get one person to register. So that's $10 per lead. We need 33 of those leads to get us one executed sale. So we're spending about $330 on AdWords, on Google and Facebook ads to get one executed contract. That's making us an average of $5,000, of which we give $2,500 to the agent and we pocket the other $2,500. So $300 to make $2,500. But the piece that's incredible about this is we don't pay for the ad. So really it's an infinite return. We don't pay $300. Our lenders and our vendors pay the $300. If they weren't in the picture, then I'd have to step up and pay it, which I would, because it's like an 8X or 9X return. Now, all of that sounds fine and dandy and easy by just saying it in 30 seconds. But the actuality is, to get 1 out of 33, our agents are calling 33 people 10 times in the first 14 days, sending 2 text messages, leaving 2 voicemails, setting them up on a drip email that goes out periodically, setting them up on a listing update of houses that hit them via email based on their initial search. And then we're also using virtual assistants to scrub in between all the calls that the agent's making. So getting that engagement is the reason. Everyone says it doesn't work because they're not doing it, because agents aren't wanting to work hard at following up with internet leads, because it's a lot easier to work grandma's referral. I hope I touched on some of the points you were wanting me to touch on.
I love it, dude. So, all right. So you guys are getting the lead. Internally, you're hitting them heavy up front, as you just discussed. Then from there, you have your virtual assistants dialing from there. And I know the virtual assistant company that you use, you also either own or have ownership in, which is about $1,000 a day. And I'm assuming that anybody that listens to this, if they choose to hire your company, they can really go out there, and as long as they follow that initial follow-up that you coach and teach on, which I don't know if that's a part of $1,000 a day where you teach and coach.
Yeah, it can be. So like across the country, you've got agents. So your options when an internet lead comes in is you have an agent that can scrub the lead, you have an internal sales agent that can scrub the lead, or you have a virtual assistant that can scrub the lead. Someone needs to take the initial lead. I still prescribe to the camp that it's my responsibility to have my agents take on those leads. We've also used, and we actually are using Rockerbox, which is another great solution. They service a lot of Boomtown platforms, but they also service other CRMs. And their goal is to get in touch with the lead within the first 3 minutes, like while they're on the website. And 90% of their conversions have been that first 5 minutes. 10% is after that. So that's where you win in that internet lead game. But when it comes to a virtual assistant, we have had a lot of success using them to scrub leads that have already been reached out to by an agent where the agent wasn't able to get in touch. So the agent's supposed to reach out 10 times. That's just the first 14 days. So after that first 14 days, that lead goes into what we call our archive bucket, which right now we have 60,000 people in it. Well, obviously that's not the best place for my agent to spend their time. And so I'll send my virtual assistants into the archive bucket, and they'll make decisions on who they should call based on that person's return rate to the site, what they've been looking at, what their price points are, et cetera. And our virtual assistant will what we call scrub that archived list and look for opportunities that they can kick back to that agent that had made those 10 calls that's trying to get in touch with the lead.
So if anybody's watching this or listening to this that wants to explore hiring a virtual ISA to help with this. I mean, I know the company's $1,000 a day.
Yeah, go out to 1000callsaday.com. 100 calls, CALLSA day.com. And you can actually schedule a demo call with Jessica Sanders. She's one of the owners. And we have tons of testimonials up on the site. You're going to spend about $1,800 a month for a full-time virtual assistant working 40 hours a week. And they can work on any project you want. They can do outbound prospecting, inbound calls, scrubbing leads. They can do Facebook campaigns where they post content for you to Facebook. They can post ads to Craigslist. Anything you want. They're your admin. If you wanted them just to call all the people you don't like and leave nasty voicemails all day, they could do that as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, essentially you got somebody for 40 hours a week,
right?
Under $2,000 a month. I mean, dude, and those of you that haven't hired anybody, I mean, it's impossible to hire an in-house W-2 employee that you're paying Social Security tax, have an offer.
Yep.
I mean,
they have to be licensed if you hire an internal salesperson.
Yeah.
Most often. So yeah, that virtual assistant solution. The other thing Josh and I were talking about off air is we will be responsible to providing accountability to that individual and train them, split test, provide them scripts, gain access to data, put them on a dialing system. 1000 Calls does all of that. So it's not like you're going to take on all this responsibility of an additional person you're going to have to manage. 1,000 Calls does that for you, which is pretty slick.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And we were just talking off air beforehand, but I know that as soon as we hang up here, that we're going to incorporate your company as well and into my business as well, dude. I mean, it just seems like a no brainer to me. So then let's talk about the podcast, dude, because I know you were.
Yeah. Well, Josh, I'll give you credit on this. I've been watching podcasts for 3 years, and you go back to that Jim Rohn quote. There's some, actually, I don't know if it's Jim Rohn. It was referenced in the one thing. It said the difference between you and me are the people we meet and the books that we read. And I add on to that the podcasts we listen to. And so in my pursuit of knowledge, 5 years ago, when I knew I wanted to build a mega team, I went out and visited about 50 brick and mortar locations over the course of a couple of years to meet with top agents and find out what they were doing and visit their actual brick and mortar office location. In addition to that, for knowledge grab, I would listen to podcasts like yours, Josh. I actually listened to yours, GSD Mode, and there's a bunch of other great ones out there. And I also read a lot of books. And what I found with books are great, and I still keep reading. I try to read a book a month. The problem with the books that I've experienced is that they're usually 1.5 years to 2 years old. A lot of that content in a book gets written 18 months ago. Well, the industry moves very quickly. Some of the content we're talking about today has changed. Zillow just changed their algorithm 2 weeks ago. So if someone wrote a book about lead gen, they include Zillow in it, it's already outdated. And I read, and I could pull my desk open here. I have like 100 books, and I'm big into that. But podcasts are a great place to gain knowledge. My intention of creating a podcast was to talk on teams. So I own the Team Building Podcast by Jeff Cohn. We're on Stitcher, we're on iTunes, we're on YouTube, we're all over the place. We've got thousands of people that are following that now. But my goal is to interview people at several levels of the business. A lot of people like Josh and other podcasters, they'll bring in other entrepreneurs and thought leaders in the industry, which is awesome. We wanted something specific to just teams. So we interview team leaders, success managers, and operations managers. And so we found there's tons of value for other ops managers and success managers and admin in the industry to watch our podcast, because it's not just guys like Josh Smith and I, running 1,000,000 miles an hour, talking about really high level stuff that sometimes isn't as fun or valid for some of the people watching. And so if you got a minute, check it out. See, you can go down the list and see what titles might be advantageous to you and or your admin. You might forward some of these episodes to people within your organization and say, hey, watch this. This is how Omaha's Elite's doing it.
Yeah, no, I love that you brought that up, man. And this will kind of be a transition to flat rate. People will ask me like, hey, should I coach with Tom Ferry or should I jump into your boot camp, right? I'm like, okay, well, Tom Ferry's not in the trenches every day. So he has to get his intel from dudes like me and Jeff. So by the time that his coaching clients are getting it, just like you said, it's 6 months, a year old.
Right.
We're already on to the next thing, right? So with that being said, let's talk about flat rate, man, because I know you haven't been doing coaching. You've had some programs where people can come out and shadow you for a day. Yep. But flat rate's kind of a whole new epic thing. Dude.
Yeah. Dude, thanks for letting me talk on it. And, I just to give Josh a shout out, Josh owns the boot camp business and his podcast and has monetized that really well and provides tons of value to agents at every level and is willing to let someone like me come out and talk. So Josh, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. So my pain point and the pain point of a lot of new agents is that the brokerage where they're working, the franchise in which they work and or the team where they are isn't providing them the training and accountability and leadership that's necessary to take them to the next level. And so we and everyone listening has to go out and get all this information on their own. And I thought, why isn't there a thought leader in the industry that's actively selling real estate that simply opens up their training and their accountability processes and their motivational speeches and everything, all their Google Drive that has all their intellectual property and everything that they provide as value? Why doesn't anyone open it up? And so people have heard of like Keller Williams right now is kind of pushing that expansion team agenda. And I had thought about expansion years ago as my team started having a lot of success. I thought, well, what would happen if I placed my team in other cities? And we actually did it. So last year we went to Boston, San Diego, Salt Lake City, Lincoln, Nebraska, and Omaha. And I found there's just tons of time. And, you look at ROT, return on time. I didn't think the juice was worth the squeeze. It was too much time for the small amount of return on investment that we got. It was a positive return, but not worth our time. And so we looked at it from a national standpoint and said, what does the industry need? They need thought leaders. They need training. They need motivation. They need accountability. But they need it from someone that's doing it now, not from someone that did it 20 years ago, because things change so fast. So we created a product that launched in January to our beta group. We have over 100 people on the product right now. It's called Flat Rate Expansion. And why it's called Flat Rate is because you can pay $497 a month for access to our subscription service. And what we provide is 12 hours of video content every single month and one success call that's 10 minutes long every single week with our local flagship team success manager. Now, those calls are Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday via live stream. If you go out to livestream.com, you can see the software that helps us deliver this live stream. We have 4 SDI HD 1080p cameras set up in our office space. That's Zoom lenses. We're all mic'd up across the office. So it's really high level quality content. Every Wednesday, it's dialogue training at 10 a.m. Central. And my dad leads a majority of those dialogue sessions. Every Friday, we go through 20 different topics pertinent to individuals, agents that are servicing leads, like listing presentation training, buyer presentation, negotiation training. And we have all these different topics that we circulate through every 5 months. Then on Thursdays, we have a training that's specific to just team leaders and broker owners. So individual agents aren't invited to the Thursday call. And then on, like I had mentioned, you can actually pick every week. It's not the same time for that 10-minute success call. You have access to our success manager's calendar, and you can book out every single week what hour or what 10-minute chunk you'd like with the success manager. And all of that comes with access to our Google Drive, which houses all of our intellectual property, which is a value of $997. That's free. It also comes with access to our 8-hour, Josh talked about our team building workshop, which Josh actually came out last year and checked that out. It's usually $3,000 to come to that. This product includes the workshop. We've recorded an 8-hour video series. And then we also negotiated a discount with Boomtown for anyone that wants to have their high-level Boomtown platform, which is normally $1,750 a month. You can get for $1,000. We can get you $750 off per month on the Boomtown platform. So all of this is $497 a month.
Yeah, that's epic, dude. So where's the best place to, is it just flat rate expansion?
Go out to eliterealestatesystems.com. And you can actually include the link when you guys post this up. There's a link right on there that says flat rate expansion. So click on that link. You can learn a bunch more on this. In about a week from now, like I said, this is all really new. Our website's going to have examples of what those live streams look like so that you can click on them, see what they sound like, see the quality of the live stream. We also will list all the topics that are going to be being presented over the course of that 5 months. We'll also list out every piece of intellectual property that's included in our Google Drive. But our hope is that we'll have thousands of agents that jump on and grab access to this. And it's a 1-year commitment. But after that 1 year, once you've gotten through the entire evolution of the trainings, our hope is that people stay on board with us because of the constant value we're bringing, because we're always going to be increasing the knowledge share, obviously sharing within, having a mastermind group in Facebook. And we think it's going to be a game changer across the industry. We don't know any other teams providing anything like this.
So let's say you got a team leader like myself that has, a leadership team as well. If somebody has like an office manager, can their office manager jump in?
Really good question. So our focus is actually providing 30 seats. So if we partnered up with a broker and the broker wants to provide access to their thought or management team and or individual agents, the broker owner would get 30 seats for $497 a month. And if you're a team leader and have 30 agents, you'd get 30 seats for that $497 a month. It breaks down to being $16 per seat. The only thing we won't do is if you're a broker owner and you want to provide 30 seats to 30 team leaders, we wouldn't allow that. But we are going to allow an individual agent. It's still $497. If you're a team leader, you can have up to 30 agents per license. And then also per license gives you access. One person that has the license gets to come to the Thursday call, and the one person that has that license will get to do the 10-minute accountability call.
Yeah. So then, when it comes to somebody that wants one-on-one coaching, and I know you have an accountability element to it, but when people hit me up like, oh, I need one-on-one coaching, because I need that, that hand-holding piece. I'm like, dude, your issue isn't coaching or training. You got deeper issues than that, right? So, if somebody's listening to say, man, I see the value in this, but I have to go to Mike or Tom Ferry and pay, $1,500 a month to have pricing my service and sold real estate in their life, because they need that hand-holding element. Like, what would you say to somebody that is kind of on the fence because they don't have that hand-holding?
Yeah, so I would say with our product, there is the handhold. We've actually done R&D that has proven that no one needs a 30-minute call. No one wants a 30-minute call. If you're a millennial listening to this, I know just even thinking about a 30-minute call is going to give you the sweats. You need 5 to 10 minutes to unpack some piece of pain that that you're experiencing over the last 7 days. So it could be regarding recruiting, lead gen, your MSA, something. And so our intention with providing that weekly call is to simply give them a sounding board of someone within our flagship team who is actually, it's actually the success manager for our team and one of the owners of Elite Real Estate Systems, the coaching company that's bringing you this flat rate product. He's going to jump on a call with you every week and answer any question you have that's a pain point in your business. Now you start stacking up those 10-minute calls. It ends up being 52 calls a year. So imagine going throughout the week knowing, oh, I have this opportunity to talk to this thought leader in the industry to help me solve this one problem I'm having in my business. See, I don't think people want a 30-minute call. I actually think people don't sign up for traditional coaching because they don't want to have to spend an hour or 30 minutes on the phone with somebody that was successful 15 years ago. I think people want that quick 10-minute access to somebody high level like yourself, Josh, or myself, or my success manager, Andy Cuny, to help them solve one problem and give them tangible advice of something they can implement in their business this week to overcome the challenge that they present to our success manager. So that's what we're doing.
I love it, man. And I recently joined a mentorship program that's somewhat similar to yours. It's not in the real estate space, but a dude that I really, really have a lot of respect for. And I mean, he's a very high level serial entrepreneur. I mean, the dude's making $36,000 an hour, 24/7, right? I mean, he's a player. So inside there, I don't get direct access to him. And at first I was like, okay, I'm uncertain about this because it's still a big ticket item, but I got direct access to his right-hand people. And now that I'm in the experience, I'm actually blessed that and grateful that I get access to his right-hand people, not him, because they're able to go, I mean, they're an extension of him, right? I mean, the answer that they give me is going to be the same as his answer, but they're going to be able to take that much more time with me than even them. So any of you that are listening, it's like, oh, well, in these success calls, maybe I can't access Jeff, right? I've found that accessing Jeff's right-hand man or that person's right-hand man ends up sometimes being that much.
Well, and my right-hand man's in the trenches. He's doing the day-to-day. He's answering all these other questions from other people. But I will say I am accessible. I'm going to be on a lot of these live streams. And the other neat thing I guess I didn't mention about the product is all those Wednesday, Thursday, Friday live streams that go out to your agents and your brokerages all across North America. Everyone can chat with me or whoever's leading the training. So we have an iPad Pro sitting right in front of us. Any comments or questions, just like right now in this live feed, people can ask questions, post comments, post pictures, put the little emoji of thumbs up or whatever the case might be. And we'll directly acknowledge every comment, every question that's asked either on air via video or somebody responding to the instant message chat. So great points though, Josh. You're going to get my right-hand man that's in the trenches. And I think that there's going to be a lot of value there as well. So if you're interested, go check it out. I think it's a leading idea. In the future, we'll bring virtual reality into it as well once more people own Oculus goggles. There's a lot of really cool things we're doing. I think it answers the question of, hey, where do I get the training? Where do I get inspired? How am I held accountable? Where do I get the systems and strategies to build and scale a successful business? The answer is now here. It's flat rate expansion with Elite Real Estate Systems.
Yeah, because those of you that are watching and listening, especially if you're new in this business, you got to understand that your broker owner is not going to provide you anything other than cutting your commission checks and a place to hang your license, right? And it's not their fault. I look at it as us as agents' fault because we're not willing to pay our brokers anything, and it's just evolved to the profit margin is so thin, that it's upon you to go out there and get the information you need to grow your business. And this is just such a
and they're going to have training for you, but the training is going to be how to fill out a purchase agreement.
Yeah,
their trainer that they're paying $80,000 a year is not going to bring you the latest greatest strategies for marketing on Zillow. You're not going to get actual return on investment statistics based on hundreds of thousands of dollars of investments with Google Ads and Facebook and Craigslist and all these different things that we're going to unpack for you. So obviously there's some value at the broker level, but I think that value is very short-lived. And to take it up the next notch, you have to do a boot camp with Josh or join a company like mine with Flat Rate. And at the price of $497 a month, most coaching in the country, Maps Coaching, Ferry, all these other coaching businesses, Buffini, I've never heard of anyone under 500. I think most of them start at $1,500 a month.
Right. Yep. And then you got to always analyze who are you getting your intel from, right? Is it a true player that's actually doing what you want to create? And there's very few out there. I mean, I probably have met maybe, and this is maybe even an exaggeration, it's kind of less than this, a dozen realtors that are netting close to $1 million a year, right? I mean, I've met more $1 million a year GCI producers that can't pay their taxes at the end of the year than I have the reverse, right?
Yeah.
So
no, I'm five fingers with the net million. People will tell me they make millions and I'll say, what do you net? And I'll hear answers of, I don't know, for somebody that's making 4 million a year and they don't know what their net is, which still I can't comprehend how somebody couldn't know. I mean, I know how they don't know, but I'm just shocked they're willing to allow themselves to not know it. And it's just mental laziness.
Yeah, well, and then like you said, the ego is real, especially in the real estate space, right? So I know we're getting tight on time. We got to get jamming here soon. But I just wanted to talk about one other thing with 1,000 calls a day, because I know that you and other clients that we've had conversations with aren't just using it for traditional real estate. I mean, you guys are going out there and calling absentee homeowners, whatever it may be, to go out there and flip and wholesale deals, right, and kind of talk about some of the other things quickly. So if people are looking at service.
For sure. So like typically
real estate, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people think of it, as like a solution for outbound prospecting. And I'll be the first to admit that, while we are profitable and, you're spending $2,000 a month, you land one lead, you essentially break even if you can get a lead every quarter that converts. So invest in it. It's going to work. Give it a couple of months. I promise you'll get a positive return on investment. But to Josh's point, there's a lot of other things you can do with a virtual assistant. So we've used ours as well for our recruiting push. And obviously I know that's still within real estate, but we've had them help us create a real estate mastermind page where we deliver all sorts of content to agents in our local market across brokerage brands. And then we invite those people out to events at my office. Well, there's nothing better. I think it's even better than a text message to send someone a Facebook message or a Facebook invitation personally from you. But of course, you're not going to personally take the time to go through and send it to every single person on your Facebook. If you're like me, you probably have thousands of friends on Facebook. Your virtual assistant, you can give them a template and then tell them, use the first name of the person you're sending it to, drop this template to all 1,000 people that are in my Facebook page and invite them to recruiting events, invite them to information share, a mastermind, or whatever the case might be. We also use virtual assistants for, like you were mentioning, outbound prospecting, for finding investment properties, wholesale deals, flips, things of that nature. And we've been pretty good with predictive analytics to try to, buy data that will help us predict who's most likely to sell and or call absentee owners. There's a lot of different strategies around that. So pretty much anytime you're lying in bed at night and you think, wow, I know that if I did this, I'd be super successful. I just simply don't have the time. The virtual assistant gives you the time. It's the definition of leverage, but they only work if you already have a proven out system. So we'll have people sign up with 1,000 calls that want to do expired calls that have never made an expired call. And the virtual assistant will generate a lead and the agent isn't empowered with the correct dialogue to take that lead opportunity and convert it into a presentation. So if you don't know how to talk to an expired lead and your virtual assistant does, that's not going to get you a listing. You need to use the systems you've already proven out that you can say, okay, this is working. I now want to have 7 more people doing the exact same thing. I'm going to pay $2,000 per virtual assistant and I'm going to scale out this thing that's working in my business.
Yep. Love it, dude. And it's a third party. So, who knows, man, maybe some of those vendor partners can pick up some of the tab, right?
There it is, lead gen. Yep, for sure.
Love it. Love it. So, all right, guys. Well, those that are watching, listen, I know I end every podcast with this, but information without implementation truly is just the start of delusion. Information is no longer power. It's taking that information and taking massive action on it that creates power inside your world. So Jeff shared so many amazing pieces of advice today. Make sure to go out there and take action. This is a dude that's doing it at the highest levels inside our industry. Go out there and take immediate action so you can create the life that you want and deserve. And is Jeff stated he's going to supply us all the links of everything that we talked about today. So I don't care where you are, iTunes, Stitcher, the website, YouTube. There's going to be links below of everything that we talked about.
Josh,
it's out.
I forgot to give your audience our discount. Our team building workshop is normally $29.97. If you're a GSD mode audience member and use the code 1/2 off, half off, I'll allow you to come out to my team building workshop. We host them every single month. The next event's on June 19th here in Omaha. You can come out for 50% off. It'll be $14.97. And that includes our Google Drive that normally costs $997. I'll kick that in there for free. And Josh, I'd love to have you come back out again, my man.
Yep, absolutely, 100%, man. Why, I know how valuable your time is, man. So it's been a massive honor, brother. I truly appreciate it.
My pleasure always. Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
All right, you guys. We will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching and listening.